sex, love, and relationships really threw me around in life. And eventually I became a student of it. Okay. Personal development, I realized, didn't translate into sex and didn't translate into my relationships, especially romantic relationships. Mm-hmm. It was around the time that I'd gone to my first A-Fest and was starting to really think and grow rich and the power of now. And
you're going into all of it.
I was in. And then the guy that I thought was really hot that I might want to get naked with would come into the room and I'd immediately be a 14-year-old girl again.
Oh, wow.
And wouldn't know what to do and wouldn't know how to communicate and wouldn't know how to listen to my body. And there were all of these just jumbled information in my mind. And so I couldn't make it line up. And so eventually I had the aha after some really sexy experiences with some people.
Okay. Do you want to dive in there?
Sure. I had someone this is while I was on ships, introduce me to consensual non-monogamy.
Okay.
So things like open relationships,
consensual
polyamory,
non-monogamy. Okay.
Consensual, both parties are agreeing to it or all parties are agreeing to of some sort. And the spectrum could be really wide, but I'd never heard of it before.
Okay.
So just the
introduction. Coming from a Catholic background.
Yes. Right? Just the introduction of it to me was, holy shit. Can I say shit on your show?
Yeah.
Great. Like, holy shit.
Bring it.
People do love differently. Like they make it work for them. It was just such a foreign concept to me. Now, I since then, I've only seen a handful of relationships that are consensual non-monogamous and I would say are really healthy and beautiful. I've seen lots of variations of it where I'm like, well, I don't think that's great. So just the idea that people choose differently, that was the first thing. And then the second person that really stood out on my timeline was the person who introduced me to kink and introduced me to BDSM. I didn't even know that that's what it was called.
Okay, what did you think?
Dark, demented, twisted shit.
Yeah. Which most people probably think that.
Yeah. And it was some of the hottest experiences I may ever have because I simply didn't know what I didn't know. And I was immersed in something that was so unique and foreign, but I didn't have time really to lay judgment. I was just in it and I was in so much pleasure and surprise and it transformed the way that I looked at sex and I looked at myself. And thank goodness I interacted with someone who knew what they were doing and was very kind and considerate and very well versed.
So were you open to it at the time? Were you like in this exploratory phase or were you kind of like this person took you by surprise?
I was exploratory. I was reading a lot. So Sex at Dawn, The Ethical Slut. There were a handful of books that after I finished with the first round of personal development, I was like, what is sexual development?
Sexual development. Oh, I love that.
Because I realized that I was blocked and having hangups and all these things in sex specifically.
Do you feel like you were judging yourself in relationship?
Not consciously.
Okay.
Not consciously. I was just acting in ways that didn't make sense to me. You know, I made these choices for how I was acting and believing and thinking and treating myself outside of, and then I would get into these dynamics and it would just be patterns looping around. Or I would just say a thing and be like, where, after the fact I'd go, I'm like, why did you say that? That was very strange, It's just this very awkward kind of unfolding. And this person definitely did catch me by surprise because I wasn't specifically learning about kink or BDSM at that time. And I remember, and to make it even hotter, he is a captain.
Oh, wow.
On ships, and I was an art director at the time.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the makeup of an erotic novel.
That's very much an erotic novel. So take us through how would you define BDSM?
BDSM is defined as bondage, dominance, discipline, sadism, submission, masochism. 4 letters, 6 words. And they flow in and out of each other. And typically, the underlying theme of it all is dominance and submission. It's abbreviated capital D/s. I know a lot about this now.
Of course.
Because this person, planted those seeds where I was like, oh my gosh, sex will never be the same. What am I going to do? I got to learn about it. I definitely had those questions of how did I not know that I would be into that? How did I not know that my body could do that?
Oh, okay.
Wild. And so I've been fascinated ever since. Psychological kink and physical kink as well. So psychological is more like...
Yes, what does that mean?
Can I say the F word on your show?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I should have asked that before we got started. I'm like, I've wanted to say fuck a couple times.
Tantalize us.
So mindfuckery.
Okay.
So if you think about,
Give us a taste.
yeah, so elements, so DS can be like the emotional mental space or the physical if you think like flogger,
Yeah.
paddle, spankings, things like that, that's more sensation based.
Okay.
And then the mental components would be, you know, I'm not touching you, I'm next to you, and we're in a, let's say a dynamic, and you trust me, and I tell you to close your eyes. And I start giving you instructions. I tell you to put your hand on your heart. I tell you to breathe deeply. And I tell you to get on your knees. And I tell you to stay there like a good little girl.